Well, hey there, folks. I'm in the back of the Jeep JKU. You can see I got my seats unbolted and flipped up there. Can you guess what I'm doing? Putting in the seat recline kit. So, I went for, forget what they call this. It's not plastic. It's a real heavy-duty material. Delrim or something. I forget. You guys will know. They have this and they have the aluminum. I upped it for this kit. So basically those are going to go there. The thinner ones, there's 3 of them. They go back there. I already got them in there. Now let me tell you. I've watched a few videos online and, you know, I've seen these guys bitching and complaining that they can't get the bolts out. And the only way they could get them out was to use a big heavy-duty impact and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? These guys are just weaklings. I'll get them out of there. Well, let me tell you something. These 4 I got out with nothing more than my 1/2-inch drive ratchet with an 18mm and that little pipe right there on it for a little extra leverage. Now I'm going to tell you something. When you first break them loose, they're tight as shit. And it's not because they're Loctited in there, because I don't see any Loctite on them whatsoever. I mean, I can understand if you're somewhere on the East Coast or up north, you know, and it rusts like crazy, you're going to fight with them. But we're pretty lucky here in northern Nevada. We really don't get rust. But if you're rusted under there, you're going to fight. So they're not Loctited in. They are just torqued unbelievably freaking tight. Like I say, I got them out. I'm pretty strong with the wrench. I've wrenched for years and years on cars. And yeah, you know, if you don't got some strength on you, you're probably not going to get them out. I got these out. So then I got all cocky and I figured, well, you know what? How much harder can these be? Well, the problem is these are at a harder angle and it's really hard to get leverage on them. My impact wouldn't break them loose, guys. I used my Earthquake 1/2-inch impact, my pneumatic impact. I've only got like 120 PSI available at the air compressor. Wouldn't break them loose. And I tried my Ryobi 1/2-inch, 18-volt, and it wouldn't break them loose. That's what that big breakers bar's for. That broke them loose. Even with that, you got to get in here just right. You don't have leverage. It is a bitch. So them guys online saying that they're tight as shit, they just ain't crying about it. They're telling you the truth. These are freaking tight. But they came out. I used a 1/2-inch breaker. I had to break them each about 2 full turns with that breaker bar. I had to keep repositioning it. Once I did that, then my Ryobi 1/2-inch pulled them right out. Like no problem. Then the 3 in the back of the seat, they come out real easy. Those aren't tight. So anyways, I'm putting these back in right now. And I am going to use some anti-seize on them. Just a little bit for the future, for the next guy. And my kit did come with, there's where I got them, Ohio Diesel parts. They do provide the, I believe they're the 10.9 grade new bolts. On the website, it says that chances are your old ones aren't going to be reusable, but my old ones are just fine. So they're plenty long. So if I can use factory hardware, that's what I'm going to use. So let me get these back in there. All right. So I got these 3 bolts back in. I used the original hardware. I did use a little bit of anti-seize on them. And I just cranked them down with my Ryobi right here on the highest torque setting. And believe me, that's plenty tight enough, but it's not as tight as they were before. So that'll work. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the seat. Put these back down there on those. And if my factory bolts are long enough, I'll use those with a little bit of anti-seize. I just put it on the last few threads here. That's plenty. It'll run up. If they're not long enough, if I don't think they catch enough threads, I mean, all they need to catch is like that much right there. But if they don't catch like that much, I will use a new hardware. I'll let you know. All right, so these factory bolts are going to be plenty long. You can see I just put some anti-seize at the tip there. Just show you, you drop them in there. And that's all the way bottomed out. And you can see there's plenty of threads to catch right there. So I always like using factory hardware if you can. Okay, folks, one thing I will say, when you put these back in, see factory, these feet on the seat, they drop down into like a little bucket in the floor pan, and they lock themselves in there so they can't move side to side. So what I'm seeing from this kit should have been designed a little differently. Once you torque them back down, it will start torquing the seat legs over, you know. So just keep an eye on that. You can hold it with the crescent wrench when you do it, or adjustable wrench, something like that. But just to note, if you crank them down, it will torque these feet. So just make sure that when you do it, they're both straight like I've done. All right, just a little note there. All right, folks, so I got it all back together, and here's what it looks like with the recline kit in there. If you want to look at yours and they don't have it, as long as you have the 7 to 10, I think the 7 through 10 has this interior. Then the 11 and up has a newly updated interior. See that little black nub right there? The alignment pin for the roof. You can probably use that. Or you can use the corner of the back window there to kind of see. But it definitely does recline it. Definitely does do that. Here it is from the other side, you know, so you can see. Yeah, that is a radio on in the background. I'm listening to Coast AM. But, yeah, I think it works pretty well. Let me show you those bolts on the back of the seat you got to get to. Okay, so there's these 4 right here, right? 4 running all the way across. That's easy enough to get to. Then you got the 3. 1 here, 1 here, and 1 on the other end. So you have to undo these 4 first, flip the seat up, so that way you can access those 3 back there. So eventually, these 3 in the back will all have to come out. These 4 in the front will all have to come out. The 3 on the rear of the seat, they don't have to come out. You just have to loosen those. Let me show you those. So of course, you just pull your little seat release. Seat will go down. Go back here. Got this mat back here, but you just loosen that one up. You got one right there, and then of course you got one on the far side right there. You do. The bolts in the back I was talking about, you'll have to remove all the way there. They're down in there, right there. So anyways, it's all done. Besides them being tight as hell and getting them out, you got to be strong and you got to have leverage. Once you get past that with these 4 and those other 3, you're good. I would just caution on these when you go to torque these down, because you have to realize the factory ones are really tight. So you just, you know, if you get in an accident or something, you don't want these, you know, loose. You definitely want them tight. So as you really torque them down, these will start to twist sideways right here. See, like this, they'll start to twist. So if you see that, just hold this with an adjustable wrench as you're doing it, you know, apply leverage the other way. Or once you get them tight, you can just turn the ratchet back a little bit, and you'll feel it. It won't come loose. It'll just realign it. You can figure it out. You just want those, you know, nice and straight so your seats can still drop down. You don't want anything to be twisted. That's the only really thing wrong with the kit. You could see it just sits on top of that Delran or whatever it's called. I forget. I'm probably totally mispronouncing it. I forget what it's called. But like I say, the bottom, the metal pan, has a bucket where this sits in right here. And when you get those on there, it doesn't. They could have designed this a little better, but it'll be okay. Just make sure when you do it, you know, you get them straight. You don't want any stress on that rivet right there. That's about it. And once again, this kit did come with its own heavy-duty bolts. They look like a quality bolt. I would have no problem using these whatsoever. in place of the factory ones, or if my factory ones were messed up. They're nice and heavy. They've got the right strength rating on them. They do come with washers. I'd have no problem using these. I just, always like to use factory when possible. Once again, here's the kit, Ohio Diesel parts. Real simple. I ordered mine on Amazon. We got here within a couple of days. It's a real simple kit. You just got to have the strength to put them in. All right, folks. All right, here you go, right here. Later, these can be tightened to 56 foot-pounds. Well, I'll tell you what, the factory ones were a hell of a lot tighter than that. But yeah, you could probably go off that if you wanted to. That way you don't crush that plastic or whatever it's called. Let me see if I can see what that stuff's called on here. Well, it doesn't say the material. Go on Amazon or eBay. They sell them on both. I just prefer to get my stuff on Amazon if it's the same price. Says it's made in the USA, which it is, and Okay, folks. Oh, and here's the best part about the whole thing. Look what I found underneath the carpet. Too bad they're not 64 earlier. Too bad they're not silver. They're both clad. Dang it. All right. Be good out there, folks.